You guys know that voice that you hear every evening right here at Pompano Park? You might have also heard it on some Hollywood movies. Frank Salive is here with me this afternoon to talk a little bit about his career, bring some attention to some really cool stuff that you've done that you haven't exactly told everybody. Tell us about your Hollywood career, dude.
Yeah, well, I don't have the appearance to be an actor, but I had a number of voice roles over the years in Hollywood movies. Probably the best known movie I was in was Lucky Number 11 of 2006. I was the background voice role actor from the scenes at Aqueduct Racetrack in New York. And I was in A History of Violence of 2003 with a few lines in that movie. I was in an ABC made-for-TV movie called Derby about the Kentucky Derby back in 1995, and dozens of other TV and movie roles. But those would be the best known, and of course the biggest Hollywood hit movie was Lucky Number 11 of 2006.
But now I want to take everybody back to 1975. You guys, I bet you didn't know this. I know that you were the 10th draft choice for the Pittsburgh Penguins. No way, I need you to tell me about that.
That was the summer of '75. I was a 10th round NHL draft choice for the Pittsburgh Penguins. I was a goalie, so I never did play in the NHL, but I did have, you know, a sort of a successful junior hockey career back in Ontario, Canada. And during that period of 1972 to 75, I was the Canadian goalie at the first World Junior Hockey Tournament in Leningrad, Russia, where I was fortunate to have been chosen the top goalie of that tournament. The tournament has quite a stature nowadays. It's every Christmas time when the teams from around the world play. Well, I was in the very first one.
Listen to that. And I also know you started your career in mainstream media in 1976, and you've worked reporting news and sports, and your first, very, very first assignment was the 1976 Summer Olympics in Montreal. That must have been amazing. Tell me about that.
It was absolutely amazing, and I think for any young reporter, it would be so terrific to get a network or national assignment like that. I'm dating myself when I start talking about the names of the era, but at the Press Center in Montreal at the '76 Summer Olympics, I got to meet Howard Cosell and Jim McKay, who had popularized ABC's Wide World of Sports in those years. And I was a green, wide-eyed 21-year-old kid at the time, and it was an absolute thrill. And Howard Cosell actually gave me some advice that has stuck with me to this day. He said, after a number of years in the broadcasting business, a lot of the days will start to seem one like the other, but you'll know it's a special day when your heart rate is automatically elevated on its own. And he proved to be absolutely right.
Was your heart rate especially elevated when you called your 100,000th race? Talk to me about that. That must be an amazing time.
Well, that's a big milestone, and really it's just a tribute to the vitality of harness racing. And I'm really thankful to all the tracks that hired me over the years and gave me the opportunity to make a living this way. So the great thing about racing is it forces you to stay in the moment. That when you're telling the story of a race, you can't have your mind wandering because you got to give all the participants a fair and equal treatment. And then since this explosion of off-track betting and then the arrival of the internet in the last 11 years, there's a real, very serious responsibility to tell this story accurately and give all the participants a fair and equal treatment as far as is humanly possible.
And speaking of calling a race and giving equal treatment, what exactly makes for an amazing calling of a race? What are the top 3 to 5 things that an announcer always has to keep in mind?
Well, the biggest obvious one is a close finish. The others would be, you know, a horse coming from last to win, lots of lead changes, some driver, you know, making a great drive with a long shot horse. But again, it's a very serious responsibility to tell the story accurately.
Now, Frank, after such an extensive career up in Canada, I'm dying to know how you feel your move down here to South Florida has affected everything.
Well, it's been a boost. It's certainly extended my career. It's probably extended my natural life. I started coming to Pompano of my own free will on winter vacations in 1976, and I've always loved this place. And the call came a few years ago with the opportunity to move to Pompano, and I'm so thankful to have had this chance to come to Pompano and make the move that so many people do from so many various countries around the world to come to South Florida. And it's something that I would recommend to anyone. The racing racing has been better than I expected. Quite honestly, the racing is tough, tight, competitive every night, and I'm so fortunate to be the reporter entrusted with the responsibility of telling the history of this chapter of the history of Pompano Park.
And now that you're here at Pompano, before I let you go back to work, I want you to tell me what would be, if there is just one, the most memorable race that you've called here at Pompano Park.
We had, you know, there's been so many great races, and I would say I would have to give that a dead heat to the trainer and driver and horse milestones, because without these horses, trainers, drivers, breeders, grooms, the owners who invest the venture capital for the horses to be out here racing, there would be no jobs for people like you and I.
Absolutely.
So, you know, what is especially satisfying is to call 8,000 lifetime wins for Bruce Ranger, a 6,000 lifetime winning drive for David Ingraham. And I could keep going on and on with these milestones, but I have to distill their career into a 15-second soundbite when I call a race like that. And I'm so fortunate to be the guy on duty to tell that moment in history with my voice and my words.
So there you have it, an up-close and personal look at our track announcer, the voice of harness racing, Frank Salive. Reporting for Pompano Park, this is GiGi Diaz.